Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY! A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up.
Got it!
Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn Emmy winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard. Jim Coyle with you as always, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, high atop the 18th fairway on this. Oh, it's not bad out, right? It got up to 80 yesterday. Quickly looking to see what is the expected forecast for this weekend. It is going to be 79 today. Guess what the high is tomorrow? 59. There you go. That is our kind of weather, where you drop off a 20-degree difference. Welcome aboard. We'll keep it hot in here, though. Appreciate you being with us. Of course, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Sorry about that. Double echo going there. I hope you're having a great day, and I somehow have doubled myself and then muted my.
You're good. You just have two of yourself in the stream. We just got to have one of them muted. That's all we got to do. You got to put yourself back in, too. That's the other thing. You have there we go.
Got to figure out how to get rid of one of those. Absolutely. Hope everybody's having a great day. Appreciate everybody jumping on the Andy Moore Honda hotline already. Fred from Easton, Pennsylvania. Gritty, ready for a weekend. Scott from Owensboro. I had a grandfather that grew up didn't grow up there. He moved to Owensboro. You hear about barbecue from a lot of different places. Owensboro, known for some barbecue, got a few barbecue spots. Who else we got on already? Larry. You know what? I've got a new name for Larry. I love nicknames. Blackjack Larry. Checking in from Las Vegas, baby. Larry, have you read the book Gambler by Billy Walters, who is from actually he was born in Mumfordville, Kentucky, but kind of grew up in Louisville before heading to Las Vegas and becoming he wasn't, I guess, famous, but always on the good side. But we talked about the book. That's the book that mentions Phil Mickelson betting over $1 billion and billions of dollars. That's a reference for all the old people that will know who that was. The guy that was the astronomer. His name is slipping my mind right now. But Rudy the Boxer on board as well. John from Southport. Gritty says the Evansville Memorial High School boys and girls soccer teams advanced to the regional finals. Congratulations to them, to our friends listening down on the Ref 97.7 ESPN. Always the right call. Speaking of which, we'd like to shout out our folks on WJLB AM 1230, 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, up in Hammond and Chicago. And, of course, over in Fort Wayne, 1380, Fort Wayne Sports Station, The Fan. And make sure you stick around afterwards for Brett Rump, his program coming up next, right there on the same station. Scott says he is originally from Evansville, but transplanted to Owensboro when he got engaged to a Kentucky Wildcat fan last year. I cannot blame anybody. Love crosses all boundaries. I get that. But why did you get sucked into that? Why didn't you bring her to Evansville?
I've got a little, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, Jim, but I'm also married to a Kentucky Wildcat fan. It's somebody who over the years has, they understand that that's not for me. And so that they've kind of more jumped over to my side. Yeah, I still live in Kentucky, but at least I don't have to deal with somebody wearing BBN gear 24/7.
I get that. And yours makes a little more sense. You're an Indiana fan, but you went to Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky is a school that has a communications program, so that makes sense. Yours makes. I'm not. I'm just looking at something to pick on, I guess. But appreciate you no matter where you're from. Craig is on in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Craig, my family lives right close to you, man. They live in Concord and Kannapolis, which Concord is where the Speedway is. These are both just northeast of Charlotte. Kannapolis, the home of the Earnhardts, as a matter of fact. Dale Jr. lives just north of there in Mooresville right now, I believe. Tony says half of his family are UK fans. The truth just says, hey, he doesn't care. Derek also lives in Owensboro as well, originally from Tell City. Isn't that where, I cannot think of her name, but mom from the Brady family, or was she from Dale, Indiana? Right there. But Tell City is not the home of William Tell, but it was close to where Abraham Lincoln grew up when he moved to Indiana and for his childhood, and spent his childhood in southern Indiana. So, and then of course, I know plenty of people that are from Tell City. You guys need to find a radio station that may be interested in carrying the program down there, and let them know, and then let me know, and I'll reach out. Moon Pie says he lived in Concord by the Speedway, grew up in Ellettsville. Both great places. Ellettsville is a great town. I'm telling you, if I were moving into Bloomington, that's a place that you would definitely have to look at first. It's outside of town, easy to get in. You can be to the stadium in 15 minutes for the most part. So lots of great things there. Derek, and checking in from Rockport. Appreciate you. Jim checking in right from his accounting cubicle in downtown Indy. My daughter is studying to be an accountant down at Ole Miss. She's a little rebel, but she's not much of a rebel. She's a rebel supporter, but I get it. Let me tell you, you think Florence Henderson. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah. My daughter's, why would you not be? You know how much fun she's having being an Ole Miss football fan? I mean, they get to storm the field after that big win over at LSU and packed stadiums. She gets to enjoy the Grove every football weekend. Not once have I been able to do that because of my duties up here, and it's driving me nuts. I'm like, she's a junior, and I have not been able to get to a single football game yet. But that has got to change. I've got to get down there. Tony says, great to see a lot of IU on the Ellensville tri-state area. Oh, there's tons there. That's Evansville is that's a battle market. It's a battle line city. I mean, you've got a lot of IU alums, fans there, of course. But Henderson is it's a big enough city on the other side that you've got a lot of people there, a lot of U of L, mostly UK fans. Not like Louisville, where Louisville's the main city on the Kentucky side. And then on the opposing side, of course, you have the IU, but you've got Louisville and Kentucky fans mixed in there. And there's some IU fans in Louisville, of course. Caleb confirming as I thought that she was actually from Dale, Indiana. I don't know why I keep thinking Tell City, but. And Robert pointing out it's almost basketball season, and he could not be any more correct. And as a matter of fact, this Sunday, Decision Sunday, decisions are looming. And for all of you people that have been waiting and waiting, the waiting is about to be over, not just this Sunday. That will be followed relatively closely. I'm going to say within a week of Boogie Fland making his decision known. Liam McNeely is someone that I, along with many others, it's not like I'm making this crazy prognostication. I would be shocked. I'm just going to tell you. I mean, I'm not. Most reporters try to maintain that, not taking a guess or that, because that's really not they're like a newspaper reporter. If you're a reporter, you're not supposed to really cross the line. I'm an opinionist. I get to say whatever I want. I'm going to be shocked if Indiana does not land Liam McNeely. I've thought that for quite some time, but all you have to do is also add in the fact that Kansas just took the commitment from Rakis Passmore. Well, Rakis Passmore is the exact same position as Liam McNeely. He's a top 100, not rated as high, but that just further confirmed to me that they knew we're not getting Liam. We need a spot here. So they took that. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if what I think and what a lot of people think is correct on Sunday. But Boogie Fland, his decision coming 7 to 10 days maximum afterwards, I think, waiting for his coach to return from vacation, as we talked about yesterday. I think someone said he'll be back Sunday. So, and he's going to want to do an announcement with everybody, with his school and all that, which is very cool. Steppanak High School, as you saw not too long ago, Woody was up there speaking along with John Calipari. So I just think that on that one, this is more of a little riskier take, but I do think that Indiana lands Boogie Fland. And that would make a great class for Indiana. Of course, everyone then wants to know about Boogie Queen. Man, he is, if you read the report that came out, it's on the Hoosier.com, that talked about basically saying that this is not changed from what people had thought right now, that he's been a Maryland lean, but that doesn't mean much because that has just been sitting there wafting for quite some time. Indiana is tabbed as the team most likely to steal the commitment away from Maryland. And the only scary part of that is he has an October 22nd visit to Maryland. And his decision, they announced that his decision is going to be made sometime before the November 15th deadline of the closing of the early signing period. So can Indiana land all three? Yes, they can. Am I saying they're going to? Hell no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they're not. But it's too early to tell. Hell, they haven't landed one of them yet. So, but until Liam comes out and makes his decision, and then the question is, people always ask, well, do you think that that decision decides this decision? Liam already knows where he's going. Now, whether he has shared that with Derek Queen, I don't know. There's no doubt they talk about this stuff. They're teammates. How do you not? You're being recruited by some of the same guys. How do they not? Do they talk about, man, how cool would it be to play together in college? And if Malik Renew is still there, do you think that Montverde Academy would not love that? Not that they wouldn't love to see these guys. They're going to be a big-time school anyway. And maybe they would prefer, Montverde would prefer to see them at different places to see it growth. But if they were all on the same team and that team were to be successful during the season and the tournament, whatnot, that's a new banner of its own for Montverde to promote. Hey, our guys not only go to big time schools, they go and carry on the tradition from Montverde to college. Just thoughts. Got to get back. I know there were a lot of questions.
Let's hit a break. We got Bob Kravitz waiting on us.
Oh, didn't realize what time it was. Appreciate that. Glad to hear Bob talk than me any day. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with more of the King, Bob Kravitz, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
I could not find that damn double other.
I noticed it was creating not an echo, but it was creating like a drowning sound too. I think it's gone now.
Oh, it was dropped. Well, yeah, I finally found the one to get rid of, but it was killing me because I was hearing the constant echo.
Ugh.
Hey, Jim, can I get out of here by about 5 after? I've got a doctor's appointment at 9:15 that I got to run to.
John,
I'll pop in happens at 9:05. Yep.
And just don't. And if I don't see you, just talk.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that, but
hey, buddy, don't worry. I wish I was going with you. I've got a knee. I've done something to my knee, and it went from being like not just something hurting a little bit on the inside of your knee, and I thought it was like a bursitis thing with a bursa sac. Then all of a sudden, but I think it's. Well, I had a Zoom with my doctor and described everything because it's gone from that to full swollen. The whole knee hurts 24/7. He's like, I think he tore something.
Yeah.
Which is probably meniscus or something like that. But holy God. And I've still continued to play at night. And I'm like, well, it's probably already torn. So what
there goes the 40-inch vertical.
Yeah. Those days are gone, Bob. My dream of playing in the NBA.
It's over.
It's over.
It just ended,
there, baby. Right there. Nobody's noticed the new jersey I hung up.
I did notice the Oladipo jersey.
You're the first one, and I did turn it around to make sure it was the Pacers.
Did you get that from him, or did you buy that at?
No, I happened to see this like a week ago on Facebook Marketplace. I think it was a guy who sells jerseys, has jerseys, and it was like $25. And I'm like, I'll buy that to hang in the studio, man.
Yeah, it's good. I got a bunch of old hockey jerseys I got standing around or hanging on my walls. Got a Russian hockey jersey. I got one from the old Indy Ice.
Now, where's that? You got a sports room?
Yeah, my office is my sports room. Here, I'll show you real quick. This is my. Can you see my Russian jersey?
Yeah, dude, that should be your background.
I know. Well, Russia's not real popular these days. But I got a bunch of Olympics.
Well, yeah, but all that great stuff, that's a great background.
I'll show you.
Kravitz. What's the Kravitz jersey? Is that the IU?
No, that's
10 seconds, guys.
Indy Ice.
All right, here we go.
Here's my
the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios on this Friday. It is Friday the 13th, no less. Don't forget, I just noticed that. I wrote that down. And could not have a better Friday the 13th start than with Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.substack.com.
You got it.
That you go there and subscribe to bobkravitz.substack.com. It is a constant source of content, unlike what the former employer would allow or put out. It's constant. It's different. It's the Colts. It's the Hoosiers. It's whatever you want. Pacers, Purdue. It covers everything. And speaking of which, Bob, what is I know your latest piece is mainly on the Colts right now. You've got Jonathan Taylor back in love with the Colts after they broke up. I thought that maybe he would write a song about the Colts.
Kumbaya.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Taylor Swift and Kelsey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was shocked, dude. I was totally shocked. And if anybody was at that press conference on Thursday and they saw Jonathan Taylor do a song and dance, verbal song and dance, and he had one foot out the door. And to think that within 24 hours he would be signing a contract extension seems amazing to me. But they got it done. I give Ballard credit. I give his agent, Malki Kawa, a lot of credit for getting it done. Why they couldn't get this done 4 months ago, I have no idea. I remember writing, why don't you just give him 12 or 13 mil for 3 years, make it a $39, $40 million contract and be done with it. Why they couldn't do this many months ago, I have no idea. Why we went through all this rigmarole and all the animosity and the nasty quotes and tweets and Instagram posts, no idea. But they got it done.
It's the lack of I am too, especially in something that you don't want to drag out, not at the time, especially not with a critical. And I get both sides. I get them not wanting to sign a long-term deal to a running back.
I get it too.
Running backs don't have long-term careers in the NFL, but I get Jonathan Taylor. Hey, I was the best in the league. Isn't that what the goal is, to become the best and then get that good next contract? So this is one of those times where I'm like, oh yeah, I get both sides, but not the nastiness. Just say, all right, I'm gone, and leave it at that. But they were able to kiss and make up now, and the Colts were already looking kind of decent. They're leading the division. What does this do to the prospects of the season?
Well, I mean, it certainly improves it. Now, losing Anthony Richardson for however long it's going to be, at least 4 weeks, I think will have an impact. Look, Gardner Minshew is a very good professional quarterback, but you're not going to win on a regular basis. You're not going to win consistently with him. I think, if you have a game or two, you need him. He's going to do a good job. But, I think this is, even though the schedule's not tough, I think it's going to be a tough stretch for them. But look, I've been screaming for years they need to go out and get Gardner Minshew as a backup. For the longest time, they've had Sam Ehlinger and was it Eason was his name? Eason, the kid from Washington or Washington State, whatever the hell he was from. And they haven't been very good there. And I've never understood why general managers don't take backup quarterbacks or kickers seriously. And they did this year, and we're seeing the result. I mean, the reason they've won, the reason they're 3-2 is because they've got a hell of a kicker and they've got a hell of a backup quarterback.
And it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out, because a lot of expectations were that, they're going to have a Pacers type, what the expectations were of the Pacers last year. So, but that was going to be okay because you're going to have good draft picks, yada, yada. Now they're moving in the same direction that the Pacers did in having a decent season where there's kind of fell off at the end. But if they have too good of a season, does that affect what they were planning on doing for the future?
Well, look, they would love to be. Look, part of them. I know fans want to be top 5 picks. Get a chance at Marvin Harrison, who's going to be number 2 probably after Caleb Williams, or number 3, depending on who needs a quarterback, because the kid May from North Carolina is very good. No, it's. Yeah, look, I think people, generally speaking, would love to see them continue to surprise everybody, myself included. I picked them to win 3 games, and they've won 3 games already. So they've been better than we had a right to expect. One thing I like, though, Jim, is they are tough-minded, and that's something they weren't last year. Last year, they were emotional silly putty. They were jello. At the first sign of adversity, they crawled into the fetal position. I mean, they gave up a 33-point halftime lead. They gave up 33 points in the fourth quarter to the Dallas Cowboys. So that, to me, tells me that you are weak mentally as a team. And this team is not. This team has been very, very tough-minded, coming back the way they did against the Rams and hanging in there despite the fact they've had to go to a backup quarterback twice.
Yeah, and that is very telling of the team, because they are supporting they were supporting their quarterback right off the bat. That the mindset was not of what I just said. Their mindset was to win. Sure. And then hell, look, they could have easily beaten the Rams, who they were down 23-0 to, come back, put it in overtime. They lose it in overtime. But if they win that game, what kind of a conversation are we having now?
Oh, my. I mean, if Kylan Granson makes that back shoulder catch on an absolutely perfectly thrown ball by Anthony Richardson, now you're at the 40-yard line going in. Now you've got a chance. You got a kicker who's making them from everywhere. Yeah, that could have been a very different result if he makes that catch. But no, they've been better than anybody had a right to expect. Defensively, especially the front 7 has been terrific. They're sacking the quarterback. They're not giving up sacks. The offensive line has been much, much better. But again, it's early. Let's see how it goes. But certainly the early returns are very, very favorable, very positive.
Well, we'll look forward to it and see how that continues to go. This week was the Big Ten basketball media days.
Nobody showed up.
Minneapolis. Hey, I was there. What are you talking about?
Well, almost nobody showed up.
It was much bigger than last year, I will tell you, because I was the only person that you would consider IU media there, the only one.
Well, last year? Where was it last year?
Minneapolis.
Oh, where was it this year?
Minneapolis.
Okay. Well, yeah. Stop doing
Nobody wants to go. Nobody wants. Well, it will never happen again. Kevin Warren's gone.
Yeah, that's true.
And I will say this, I was thinking it was just me that had those thoughts about him. And you see that's one of the times where you see the Big Ten networks guys, studio guys, you know them, and you're saying hi, hey man, how you doing? And I'm not going to say which one it was, but I was walking by the set and say, hey man, X, how you doing? Started chatting. I said, yeah. I said, well, here in lovely Minneapolis. And I said, well, I guess hopefully this never happens again and he just said, yeah, because, and just started laughing. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
everybody knows.
I'm like, okay, it's not just me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, not only is it not just me, this was somebody from the Big Ten Network. And I'm like, wow, it went way deeper than I thought, which I think might give people more of an understanding of why he's no longer here.
Right. No, you got to do it. You got to do it in Indy or Chicago. I mean, just do it centrally located, and everybody will show up, and it'll be honky dory.
Well, Bob's got to go. Big weekend for Indiana. Liam McNeely set to make his decision on Sunday, so that'll give us something to talk about next week.
Absolutely.
So, Bob, go take care of yourself, buddy. We appreciate you as always. Have a good one. Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.substack.com. Make sure you sign up, subscribe, support some of the best content around. We've got more coming up on here in Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and we'll be back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. All right.
The first time I didn't hear you.
And I was trying not to interrupt.
No, I get it. But that's what I wanted you to do, because if you hadn't have done it,
I was like, he's just going to keep talking.
Well, I just get on. I know there's certain things that I'm going to ask, and I didn't realize it was that time already. Hell, I wish we'd have got him on earlier.
If you want, let's do this segment.
Do what?
Do picks this segment. Jeffrey the Greek can't come on, by the way. I reached out to him about 10 minutes ago. Who else can we use? What about I was going to say Mason Williams, but he's never been on before, has he? Because, he could talk about the Liam McNeely stuff.
I do have. Go on to rivals.com, the main site. There is an interview.
Non-Hoosier website, right?
Yeah, the main Rivals. There is and then you have to go to the basketball page. There's an interview with
page.
No, well, it's just the home. They have a homepage for football, homepage for basketball, but the homepage or the basketball has an interview with Boogie Fland.
Let's see. Is it on the front page of the basketball page, or I need to look for it?
I'll have to pull it up.
I might be able to find it.
It's easy to find them.
Because it's not on the front, but I'm sure I can find it somewhere else.
Basketball front page. Yes, it is. 1-on-1 with 5. Let's see. Where is it?
I can search it if I need to. Is it just an interview? I'll send you we're about to come back. I'll send you a text whenever I find it, okay?
Yeah.
Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of Wow Food Group. This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Friday, the 13th. Be careful out there today. Just finished up with Bob Kravitz and hoping to get an interview that Boogie Fland did with Rivals on here in a little bit for you as decisions are looming.
Wait, is it Boogie Fland I'm looking for or Liam McNeely? Because we were talking Liam McNeely a second ago. So Boogie Fland interview. Gotcha.
And so are these decisions going to be connected? Tony asked, do you think the coaches already know? Well, are you talking about all of them? Absolutely not. Nobody knows where Dairy Queen is going. I'm not sure that Dairy Queen knows for sure yet because he has he still has a visit with Maryland coming up on the 22nd, which is 9 days from now, whatever. His last visit. And they've announced that his decision will be made before the November 15th cutoff for the early signing period, and I'm not saying it's going to happen on the 15th. It'll probably happen sometime before. So you got sometime between the 22nd of October and the 15th of November. I'd say it probably happens, I don't know, a week after his visit, possibly. Who knows? Having that last visit is always great. Like I've said this week, it's like a job interview. You kind of want to be the last guy that they see. This would be in reverse if you were getting interviews. You want to be the last person to try to impress them. You get the last word in. And now you're courting on the other side of things. So Maryland's going to, of course, do whatever they can, but does that supersede what Indiana has done, what Houston has done? I know Houston's in the picture, but I think this is also another Indiana one-on-one battle, recruiting battle. And I think it's Indiana and Maryland, to be honest with you. And I don't have a take on it yet. The people that I've talked to, and it was even written from our friends at Rivals, saying that either the people that are in Derek's camp don't know or are not talking as if he is leaning in any direction. And I don't think it matters where you're leaning at the moment, unless you're leaning away from Maryland. If you're leaning towards Maryland and you still have a visit to Maryland coming up, that's going to be something tough to overcome. But I don't know that. It could be the opposite. He seemed to love his visit to Indiana. But we'll see. Boogie Fland, I think, is a bigger and much more important get if they can get him. Guards. The guards are the key, as you saw last year when Indiana lost Xavier Johnson. It took a minute for Jalen Hood-Jafino to get his sea legs as the guy, but when he did, he had a good enough season to get drafted in the first round of the NBA by the Los Angeles Lakers. Indiana is very fortunate to have Xavier back. But that position is very important. Boogie Fland, speaking of which, sat down with Rivals for an interview, and let's have a listen.
I'm Kristen Peak here at Boogie Fland. We're at the USA Basketball Training Camp. Boogie, it's October. You're heading into your senior season. How's it feel to be back on the court and at this event?
I mean, it's a dream come true, you know. I mean, I say that every time I come here. It's really a dream come true, you know, just to have the privilege and the opportunity to just be at USA Basketball, wearing this on my chest, you know, and just being around these great coaches, great players. I mean, it's an honor. Who wouldn't want to be here?
Right. Anyone surprise you in the first couple sessions?
Everybody. Everyone's bringing it. Everybody's competing, you know, just the competitive mindset of everybody, you know, everybody's really bringing it.
What about Dylan Harper?
He's right there. Look at we still haven't played them yet, but we're probably playing tomorrow.
And with the NBA scouts, I mean, they're here watching you. They've seen you throughout the summer, but what are you hoping to show the growth in your game, you know, this time around heading into your senior season?
That I'm a leader and I can stand out when I'm playing with good players. You know, I feel like when you're playing with good players, your mindset is to score, do this, do that, just to stand out. Yeah. But I feel like there's more to basketball than just scoring and stuff like that. You know, just getting everybody involved, make sure you're a good teammate, helping, clapping, doing the little things, you know, because that's what they're looking for. Because when you go to the NBA, are you going to be one scoring or just somebody already there that's going to be scoring, doing the scoring? So you got to do something different, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. And with your senior season, what are some of the goals that you have heading into your last year in high school?
I'm trying to accomplish everything. That's it. I'm just trying to accomplish everything. I'm going for everything. I'm going to try to be the best player I could be.
Yeah. Down to a final three, Indiana, Alabama, and Kentucky. What was it about those three programs that put them over the rest of the schools?
Definitely their play style, what they told me, the feel I had when I went to campus, and, you know, just how the coaching staff is showing that they want me. You know, you always want to be wanted.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's big for me, and that's big for my family, and that's going to be big for the decision.
With Indiana, how was that visit, and what's been the coaching staff's final pitch to you?
The visit was great. I can't say nothing bad about it. The visit was great. The coaching staff, they basically just saying they want me. You know, Coach Russ was like, at some point you gotta say yeah. You know, so yeah.
And with Alabama, I mean, you look at that program, and what are they saying to you that you can come in and make an instant impact right away playing in the SEC?
I mean, you saw what they did last year.
Yep.
You know, everybody thought they were going to go to the Natty Championship. Yep. So just definitely the way they play, the player development, how they're developing guys now. You know, I feel like that's definitely big, and that's why they're a target on my list.
And with Kentucky, I mean, you just said player development. You look at Coach Cal's track record, especially with guards in the NBA. Is that kind of like, does he use that a lot? You know, when you guys are on these visits, like, does he point out, like, look who's in the NBA, here's my track record, you know, because that's obviously your number one goal.
To hit on that, he definitely doesn't use it.
Really?
And it's because everybody's not built for it. So he only wants people that feels like they are, you know, that come in as a freshman, playing against 25, 24, 23-year-olds. You know, you're not just playing against little kids no more. You're playing against people that's older, veterans that have been there. So if you're not ready for that, if you're not ready to be in that fire, then he just says don't come.
Yeah.
But if you are, and he knows you are, he's definitely going to tell you to come home, son.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's going to be most important to you when you are making this decision? I know you said player development, relationships, you know, pace, and how you know, these teams play, but what is the most important thing you think?
I feel like it's going to be within myself, you know, because my circle, they were telling me that you'll feel it. And I just feel like the final decision, I'll feel it in my heart.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And what is your decision time frame, do you think?
It could be in the next week, next couple of days, next 3 weeks, next month. Who knows?
Yeah.
But stay tuned.
Well, it's so funny because some players, they want to see how the teams develop, you know, over the course of a college season, who's going to be coming back, who's not. Is that important to you, or is it more just like a fit for you?
To hit on that, do you really know? No. you could commit the last day of when you could commit, and the roster could change like that. So you really don't know. You're taking a risk.
Yeah.
And you just got to hope that risk is the one that the great one, basically.
All right. Well, next week, next month, next year, who knows? Stay tuned. Yeah. Boogie, thank you so much for the update. Good luck the rest of the season. And
there you go. Boogie Fland, talking to rivals.com, and you can find that again on the Hoosier.com. But
I got to say, and I don't mean to interrupt, and you can share your thoughts and stuff on it, but he seems like a very level-headed person for somebody at this age and have this much talent, this much hype surrounding him. And again, this is just one interview, but he seems like somebody that no matter who gets him, whether it be Indiana, Kentucky, or Alabama, they're going to be getting somebody who is ready to hit the ground running, and they're not too full of themselves. They're excited. And I don't know. He seems like a good kind of dude. I really enjoyed that interview. And I'm not really big on recruiting, but I enjoy listening to that.
Yeah, it's the thing is striking me now. Yeah, I agree with you. Yes. All of these guys sound like that now because because of what they go through, because of all these things that they go through, all these people that they meet with, all of these coaches that they meet with. You know, you're talking Mike Woodson, Tom Izzo, guys like that have been around coaching, that have just done this for a living forever. And those two guys that I just mentioned, they're going to tell you like it is. They're going to just lay it out. And obviously, I'm not Mike Woodson, for example. Everyone, you know, when he was hired, oh, he's too old, he can't do it. Man, who's out recruiting him? I don't mean who's getting a better class, but who's traveling more than he is? Who's putting in more effort to land a recruit than he is? I'm not saying he's doing it the most, but he's not getting there. There can't be anybody that's too far ahead at all, because he's going to New York multiple times. He's going down to see Trent Sisley. He's going down to Montverde Academy multiple times with staff sometimes as well. I don't mean to not include the staff, but there's nothing else you can do than what the Indiana staff is doing now. That's a huge difference than 4 years ago. But you want a perfect example? You know, I love that making fun of Lil Rhodey's introductory press conference to Rhode Island. That's the kind of pitch you're going to get in a recruiting meeting. I mean, that guy looked like, first of all, he looks like a little kid. He sounds unsure, unpolished, unprepared. I would not be surprised if that's how a lot of recruiting meetings went. He landed nobody from outside of the state besides Jordan Geronimo. But that's why that is the opposite now. Woody's Woody. The clip from talking about Malik Renew's burger. I mean, that's just funny. Woody, I put out a tweet that I said, you know what? I have to say that it has been a pleasure. I forgot what I said, but it's just been great to cover Mike Woodson during this period, because he is always open, honest, he treats you professionally, and he's unfiltered. That last part is my favorite part. He's unfiltered. Says what he thinks. And he doesn't hold back. He doesn't coach speak. And I hate coach speak. It's a waste of time. It's ridiculous. And I'm glad we don't have that anymore. But getting back to John's point, I think most of these kids are like that today. They're more mature. And they almost better be, because not only they're not just talking about going to play basketball or football, whatever the case may be. They're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of them. So that changes the game, people. How many of you, and I'm sure some of you might have, but I'm not in that camp. How many of you have gone to have conversations about going someplace for a couple $100,000 in addition to what you need to do? I haven't had that conversation yet. I wish somebody would come and have it with me. Sign on the dotted line. But there's a lot of demands that come with that, as there should be. But I think that it just made these guys grow up. But also, I think it's a naturally progressive thing where these guys, it's not just the players, just people of that age in general, more of them are more mature today. And especially when you're talking about guys that go to high level places, but now you've got guys, they're doing interviews constantly. Well, if you don't give a good interview, people are not really going to want to talk to you. And it's not, part of it is not just because, oh, well, you're not giving me something. There have been guys that I didn't want to interview because for their sake, that they weren't able to give a good interview. They didn't speak well or something. And so I did not want to put them in that position. But that's just generally not the case, especially in basketball for whatever reason. So we'll see. And well, you can go back and look at all the interviews that we have at Indiana Sports Beat YouTube channel. All the interviews with the players, Xavier, Trey Galloway from Big Ten Media Days, how they spoke later on after that. Then, of course, the other players from IU Basketball Media Days, whether it's Gabe Cupps or Mackenzie Mbako, researching the school, the players, Kellel Ware. These guys, CJ Gunn, I don't want to leave anybody out. These guys are they're above of where the players were, the kids were, I was at that age, without question today. But they also are going through things that grow them up. It's not really proper English, but grow them up quicker. They're forced to. That's part of what draws you to coaches. It gives a sense of intelligence, which gives a sense of coachability. And coachability is the second, it's probably the greatest ability, second greatest ability you can have. You know what the number one ability is, John? What's the number one ability?
Man, I feel like this is a joke, and I don't know the answer to
it's a little bit of a availability.
Oh, daggone it.
That's just to say the number one ability is availability. Yes, but the second is whatever I just said. I've already forgot because we got to go to break. But looking forward to it. Appreciate everybody being along with us. Pete, jumping on. We've got picks to look at for the weekend. College football when we come back on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
All right.
I just texted Rob Cassidy. I don't know if he can come on. hate when we have guests that cancel on the
It's funny because it feels like Friday's usually the day where we're just wall to wall, and then all of a sudden everybody's just unavailable. Which, that's how things go sometimes.
Yeah. Doesn't make me like it.
Yep.
Doesn't make me like it.
Jim's upset.
Jim's upset. Well, the Boogie Fland interview was a good filler.
It was. And no, it wasn't just filler either. I mean, it was good content.
Yeah, oh yeah. What? I missed that.
What is it?
I know why Zach can't come on today.
Oh, it's something about his kids. I know that.
I'm kidding, but the Braves
You say, yeah, the Braves.
eliminated by the Phils.
That's funny though.
The unbeatable Braves. Wow. They were undoubtedly the best team in baseball all year. Buddy, you could have made a mint if you could have picked these playoffs. Holy crap.
All right, here we go.
Top teams out.
With Revesco Real Estate for additional information, 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Friday the 13th. Be careful. Appreciate you being with us. Plenty to get. How about Major League Baseball? Anybody keeping up with that? I just noticed, because I went to bed early, the Phils knock out the best team in baseball, the Atlanta Braves. And JD Campbell, Zach, trying to think of all the people I know are big Braves fans. Man, that's a surprise. But I will say this. The Braves have been knocking the crap out of the ball. I don't know how many home runs they've hit in this series, but it does bring a trivia question up that I made up. There are two teams in Major League Baseball history, I believe, that have hit 6 home runs in a playoff game. There is one player that was on both teams. Who is that player? You don't have to even name the teams, but who is that player? And if you want to name the teams, bonus. I'll tell you what. Oh, no, there's too much cheating that can go on now. That's why I was going to say I'll give a prize away, but it doesn't matter. First one with the answer. We'll get Pete to send you a koozie. But a very cool stat. But then ironically, Nick Castellanos was the hero. I think he had 2 home runs, and he signed a 5-year, $100 million contract before the 22 season. He had 2 home runs in Thursday's 3-1 clinching win. One day after doing the same in Game 3. He had 4 home runs in 2 games in the playoffs. That's getting your money's worth out of a player. I mean, that's what you want. The Castellanos signed with the Phillies a day after they signed another player for $79 million. That player is who I'm talking about. A little good trivia there. See if there's quick answers already on there, because I'm not all the way down to the bottom. But let's see. What is Indiana Creek Walker talking about? There's something he can't see tonight because without a subscription, who's playing tonight? On what network? Oh, Liam and Queen play tonight. Well, I don't mean to sound like a. What is it on? What format is it on? And why not get a subscription and cancel? What's the monthly charge? I'm not sure what that is. What were they on? ESPN Plus or something? USA Basketball, ESPN Plus. There you go, Creek Walker. Thank you. And he's going to do exactly what I suggested. But you know what? If you were going to the game again, it would cost you double that for a ticket, if not more. You're going to go to the concession stand, spend more. You might have to go to the bathroom at a time where you have to miss some of the game. So you don't. But if you do it at home, $10, got your own food, got your own restroom. He is sporting the ISB koozies down there in Evans Pats. He must have been a weekly winner. Pete got that taken care of. Pete is the man in charge. He is the man with the plan. Indian Creek Walker says he pays $500 for a ticket. It was more informative. Yeah, I don't think I'm understanding that one the way you intended it. But so there you go. Yeah, Nick Castellanos. But I can never hear his name again without thinking of Tom Brenneman. Ever. He has to hate that Castellanos continues to hit home runs, because every time Castellanos hits a home run, how can you not think of Tom Brenneman? I really want to apologize to the people in my sport. And there's a deep drive to left by Castellanos, a home run. I'm not sure I'm going to be here tomorrow. Who can forget that call? That was, I don't mean to make light of Tom Brenneman, who I heard, ironically enough, has, I believe, a daughter that is a freshman at Indiana. He was here at a recent game. So the oddities continue. Randy Johnson's daughter went to school here. I remember seeing her. As well. A lot of people. It's amazing. Luke Fickle's daughter plays volleyball here, I believe, right? Crazy how that's. Derek says the Braves hit over 300 home runs for the season and 3 in the playoffs. Wow, that is a telling stat. Holy smokes. But let's switch over to the picks this week. I don't think I've made mine yet, or maybe I have. Our first pick is the James Madison Dukes, who are 5-0. They're hosting Georgia Southern. 91% of the people have picked James Madison, and I did as well. Now, the next one up is a game I cannot wait to watch. I almost hate that it's at 3:30. I wish this was at least at 8 o'clock. So that could just be the late night relaxing game. But Oregon, number 8, Oregon at number 7, Washington. Kalen DeBoer and Michael Penix Jr., my leading candidate for the Heisman Trophy, the top offense in the United States in all of collegiate sports. As a matter of fact, I was reading an article about that earlier. He's got a core of receivers that starts with Roman Aduze, who probably going to be a first-round pick. But they have the number 1 offense in the United States, which is pretty cool. Michael Penix Jr. is also ESPN.com's leading Heisman Trophy candidate right now. And these games are of uber importance. You can play well, and this is what's stupid about how Heisman is voted on now, and it drives me insane. You can play well in that game, but lose, and I promise you you'll get dinged in some voters' minds. Which that's because I think there's voters that are now younger, but this has been going on for a while. It no longer became the best player in football. It has usually been the best player on the best team. Just totally ignorant. Also, you cannot be on a team with a losing record. I mentioned more than once, Anthony Thompson lost the Heisman Trophy simply because Indiana missed a 25-yard chip shot field goal to beat Purdue. And instead of having a 500 record, they were 1 under. He finished and at the time, one of the closest races ever to Andre Ware of Houston, who back then Houston played no one, and they were just putting up video game numbers. It was not the same. That's not apples and oranges. Anthony Thompson was putting up big ass numbers against Big Ten teams, Michigan, Ohio State, all those guys. 340 something, 50 yards on Wisconsin rather. Anyway, I'm getting off topic as I usually do, but that is the game I cannot wait to watch. But there's going to be a lot of great games. But getting back to the picks, another one is Texas A&M and Tennessee. Texas A&M is just I don't get them. Jimbo Fisher they paid him a ton of money to come down there. He's had great recruiting classes, but it wasn't working. So then he brings in Bobby Petrino, who is known as one of the great offensive minds in college football. Of course, been a head coach at Louisville twice, Arkansas, until he had his little scooter accident. I don't know what's going on with Texas A&M. And then Tennessee's kind of bounced back and forth. They beat a big win. Was it Florida that they beat? But then Florida goes and gets clobbered by Kentucky. But I took Tennessee. They're at home on Rocky Top. And they're wearing those uniforms. I don't know if you saw. I think I reposted it. Man, it might take a while for me to find it. But, John, did you see the picture of those uniforms that they're wearing?
I did not. What do they look like?
Well, you know, they have the
Gross.
checkerboard in the end zone,
Yes.
which Kentucky has copied.
They've actually since eliminated it because there was a lot of backlash from the fans. They didn't want to be like Tennessee.
Well, they shouldn't be. Do your own thing, man. No, you can't do candy stripes. It's Indiana. Do your own thing. I always thought that. The minute I saw them do that checkerboard, I'm like,
Yep.
what? I'm like, well, that was hard to come up with. You changed the orange to blue. But their pants are checkerboard.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's a wild look. I can't get it pulled up. Kansas Jayhawks go to Oklahoma State. I'm going with Kansas, the road team.
Plus, Oklahoma State earlier this year, they lost to Kane Womack, South Alabama.
In Stillwater, Oklahoma. Unbelievable. And great job for those guys. Then we've got the Georgia State Panthers hosting the Marshall Thundering Herd. I got to go with We Are Marshall. Here's a gigantic game in perspective of college football playoff implications. Notre Dame is hosting the Trojans of USC. Notre Dame is eliminated from the playoffs. They're out. They lost to Louisville. They lost at home to Ohio State. 2 losses, you're gone. I don't care what you do the rest of the year. Now, beating USC would look nice because they're number 10. But if USC loses this game, I think they're out of the playoffs because of having to go to overtime with Arizona last week.
Let me say that. I know you've mentioned that a few times this week, and I'm going to tell you why I disagree.
Because they have Caleb Williams for one.
Well, yeah, they do have the reigning Heisman Trophy candidate, or winner, I should say. But on their schedule they still have games with Utah, Washington, Oregon, and UCLA, who are all ranked. They have plenty of opportunities to build on that resume. They can definitely be 11-1 and get in, depending on who else loses.
Actually, they would have, if they win the Pac-12, whoever wins the Pac-12 is going.
For sure.
And this year, only still with 4 teams, that's going to be critical. There's not going to be a second team. Although, if there was a year, this could be a year where there are 2 teams come out of the Pac-12, which is also ironic for 2 reasons. Obviously, number 1, because the Pac-12 is going away. But number 2, the Pac-12 has have they even had a team in the college football?
They had Oregon in the championship the very first year. They lost to Ohio State.
They have had it's been impossible for them to get a team in. They just
Did Washington
they've not
go
been
one
like
year?
this.
I thought Washington went once, but maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong about that.
I know.
Either way, another thing too, the Pac-12 doesn't have divisions. Now I'm not sure how all of their schedules play out, but it could be a situation where you have 2 12-0 teams facing each other if they don't play.
Well, it doesn't matter. You can go 12-1 or 11-1 and not make it out of that. Well, no, this is a year where 2 Pac-12 teams could make it. You're not going to see 2 SEC teams.
No,
the SEC
no one
has
outside
not
of Georgia.
And I don't think Georgia has looked like, I'll be honest with you, to me, Georgia has looked like the 4th team in the playoff this year. I've got Washington at number 1, but Michigan 1A and 1B, and you can reverse them.
Yeah, up until this past weekend, Georgia hasn't really done anything that's shown that they're, a reigning national champion. Yes, they destroyed Kentucky 51-13, but that's the first time they've really taken care of business this year. If they can start doing that week in and week out, Georgia may be unbeatable, as they have been in the past. We'll have to see.
Michigan, Washington, Georgia, Who's ranked?
I mean,
third?
when does Michigan play somebody? And I know Indiana facing this weekend, but Michigan does not play a ranked team on their schedule.
Let me tell you,
November 11th. They
Doesn't matter
don't play a
when.
ranked team.
They're going to have to play. They're going to have to play Ohio State. They're going to have to play Penn State,
and that's it. Yeah, I mean, they play Maryland on the road. Maryland's a good team this year. They could lose that game.
They have a much easier path than any team in the Pac-12 because
Michigan
there are
has
so
an
many
easier path to playoff than anybody in the elite tier of college football. I'm looking at their schedule right now. Look at their schedule.
I'm not going to disagree with that because the Big Ten is just down. It is really down. They usually don't have. Usually, the bottom is not a crowded room, or let's call the Big Ten basement. Usually, it's not crowded down there. It's just two, maybe three teams, and then you've got the middlingers. But they don't have the middlingers this year. The basement is crowded. Illinois is in the basement. Indiana's in the basement. Purdue's still in the basement.
Michigan State's in the basement.
Michigan State's in the basement. Minnesota is walking down the stairs to the basement.
Let me point this out too. Michigan.
Come on now. Give me
looking at their
props.
schedule right now.
That was a great line. Give me some props.
Well, that's great. Michigan has not allowed more than 10 points in a single game this season. Granted, like I said, their schedule has been one of the softest in the country. But it'll be interesting to see if Indiana can eclipse that 10-point.
See, that's the thing that that's why I have Washington number one. Defense, they always say defense wins championships, but I think that their defense is built on their front seven, which is kind of where it starts, of course. But as long as Michigan can protect Michael Penix, I think that they would pick Michigan apart. I don't think, obviously, Michigan has not seen anything like the offense that not just Washington has, not just USC, Colorado, USC. Did I say them already? USC, Oregon. The top three of the top four offenses in the country are Pac-12 teams. The top three defensive teams in the country: Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. From the Big Ten. That says a lot, but we'll find out. It's going to be interesting.
Great.
We'll get back to more of these picks later and much more. Hope you're having a good day. Indiana Sports Beat Radio back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether
Oh, I just got it. Oh,
Just got a what?
hold on. What time is it? So we have one. We have another break, right?
Yes. Is Mr. Rob Cassidy joining us?
He texted me. Oh, it was a little late, but I didn't see it. Trying to get someone kind of special here at 10:10. Man, Friday is usually too much.
Yeah, usually wall to wall. Now it's the opposite.
Last week it was too much.
Way too much. That's why we
Not
moved Travis Miller to yesterday. Wah, wah, wah.
All right, Miami is at North Carolina. North Carolina's 5-0. They're good. And they're at home. They just got Tez Walker. I don't know enough about Miami. But somebody's got to stop. Oh, man. Missouri,
You think Indiana
at
eclipses
Kentucky.
10 points this weekend? That should be a prop bet on DraftKings,
Yes.
I feel like.
Yes.
I think they will too, honestly.
Okay, the spread is 33 or 34. I heard somebody last night talking about, man, I think that's a good bet. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I think you're an idiot.
Took Michigan to cover or Indiana to cover?
They were saying it as if Indiana getting the 33 points was a good bet. And I'm like, I didn't say a word. I'm just thinking.
Oh, I took Indiana plus 34.
I almost told the guy, I'll take that bet for I'll
Hey,
house that bet for you.
I had good luck last week. We'll see if I can continue it. All right, here we go.
The only thing that is in the
part
mix,
of the
I
wild-
think, is your
There you
butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope you're having a wonderful Friday the 13th. Man, good thing those don't happen on Saturdays for these games.
Then it'd be called Saturday the 13th.
But I mean, that would be and then coming up at in the next segment, we're going to have Tyler Harris, the director for Hoosiers for Good, Indiana's collective. Get John to send him the link and look forward to that conversation. Of course, the importance of NIL is one of those things that I talked about earlier of how important that is. And part of why these kids are sounding smarter today than at least when I was. Buddy, there wasn't anybody talking to me about making $100,000, $200,000 to play a sport, as I still call a kid. I don't care. When you're 18, you're still a kid. But they have to. You have to get smarter. Indiana traveling to Michigan this weekend. Lots of changes. You've got a new offensive coordinator in Rod Carey. Justin Fuentes brought on as a consultant a week ago. So I'm sure that they have been in and just studying the hell out of tape, film. But how much change can be made in that short of time? Now, I will say that when Rod Carey took over the offensive line for Indiana last year, there was difference, and it was really quick. And he's had 2 weeks in this position before this game, and I'm not suggesting that they're going to go beat Michigan like they went up and beat Michigan State last year, and I still talk about that game with shock. But how much difference can be made? The spread is 33-34, which is usually about as high as you get in a college football game. There should never, ever, ever, ever be a Big Ten football game with a spread that big. Now, last night I heard one guy talking about how he thought that was a good bet that he was going to take Indiana. John's going to take Indiana. John, you're welcome to jump on and talk about this, but Michigan needs style points because they've not been able to overtake Georgia. And to me, Georgia has looked, other than one game, they've looked like they're doing just enough to win. And sometimes struggling to do that. While Michigan is just kicking the ever-loving crap out of people and not letting them score.
That's true. I got to say a couple things. And again, all this may not mean jack, but one thing, Michigan, they haven't had to get up for a game really yet at all this season. And they're not going to have to truly play their best football until
But they also didn't have their head coach for the first 3 games, and they had 3 different guys, or maybe 4, because I think one time they split a half and a half. That shows you how much of a machine they are.
That's true. I do agree with you, but you also, and you probably already knew this too, but Michigan had the weakest non-conference schedule in all of Power 5 football. So anybody that has a talented roster should have been able to coach that team to 3 or 4 wins, whatever it was. So with that being said, Indiana, I don't want to say they have nothing to lose because, I mean, yeah, you still want to get to bowl eligibility, but this is not one of those games that you're expected to win. So if Indiana plays loose, like I think that they might in the early going of this game, and I'm not saying they're going to win because they're not going to, but if they can at least make Michigan try a little bit and make them realize that Indiana is not just going to roll over, and maybe they will roll over. I don't know. But we've already talked about Rod Carey. He's going to obviously be a factor in this game. Will he be a difference maker? I don't know. But Indiana is going to have at least something new that might make this team play a little more loose because Rod Carey's out here to do something. I mean, he wants to make a career out of doing something like this, obviously, or he wouldn't have taken this job. So
I understand,
if Indiana
doesn't have a magic wand to make the talent
yeah, and I know he said that himself, but that doesn't mean he's not going to try. And that's the thing. Rod Carey seems like a very calm, cool, collected kind of dude. And I know that sounded very casual to say, but I think that if they play their cards right, they'll cover that spread. And I know that's not saying much, but I know we are putting the betting aspect into this. And that's why I took Indiana to cover. I just don't think Michigan's just going to blow them out of the water. Yeah, they can win by 4 touchdowns, and yeah, that would be considered a blowout, but you'd be covering at that point.
Yeah,
Thank you, Royville Ballers. That helps my argument right there.
That's why I gave that. Hey, I don't back away from supporting the opposite opinions. Taterology, who is destroying our college pick'ems. You guys, it's a little aggravating how good he's done. I keep always forgetting how to get over to my own daggone group. But Justin Beard actually leading. Wow. It's crazy. Gee whiz. 46-14 on the year. But yeah, Michigan is it's because when you don't play talent, it's hard to get a gauge. I mean,
we're not going to know truly how good this team is until a month from now.
Well, we won't know how good they are truly until they play Ohio State, Penn State.
Penn State's their first. When I said a month from now, that's when they face Penn State, their first elite opponent.
And I don't think that. I'll be honest with you. If they were to play Michigan, I think or Washington, I think Washington wins.
And it's hard to tell that, obviously. That's why we say it's like we just said, it's hard to gauge. Like, yeah, that might be true. Washington may come in and score 40, 50 points on Michigan, but there's no way in knowing that because we haven't seen Michigan go up against top-notch competition yet.
For this weekend's game, Indiana traveling to Ann Arbor, to me, it's just it's the talent gap. Not only does Indiana have a team that has been in complete disarray offensively without any kind of identity. You had an offensive coordinator that was calling it a running first team while averaging 2 yards a carry. That is not a running team. A running team is 5-6 yards a carry. 4 yards is considered the standard. And anything below that is substandard. So what he was saying, what he should have said was, we're a substandard run first team. But then you have Taven Jackson, if he's still going to be the quarterback, which I disagree with. I think Brendan Sorsby.
This may be a weird question, but do you think Rod Carey has we know how Tom Allen likes to use the phrase head coach of the offense when referring to his offensive coordinators. Do you think Rod Carey, if he wanted to change who the starting quarterback was, would have the right to do so?
Great question.
Or does that have to go through Tom Allen, you think?
I would say that Tom Allen would veto it unless both Rod Carey and Justin Fuentes said, this is the move you need to make.
That's true, because Fuente will have a say in that kind of stuff too, I'm sure.
It would take both of those guys, in my opinion, to fight that argument. I truly believe that.
I think it's going to be Taven coming out Saturday.
Oh, I do too. I do too. I'm not saying there's going to be a change. I just said I think that there should be.
I was curious too. I mean, we may see a change. I mean, if what we just talked about happens, then maybe we will see Brendan Sorsby come out on Saturday.
Well, I mean, playing against Michigan, you might see him regardless.
That's true. And by the way, do we have any update on Dexter Williams? I don't think they've mentioned anything about him, have they?
They just keep saying he's getting closer. But I don't understand he doesn't throw the ball. He's not a throwing, unless something has happened during his rehab of his knee. He's not a guy that can throw the ball. He's basically an option type running quarterback. Now, that would probably go miles to the running game, but we'll see. We've got to take a break. Up next, Tyler Harris, Executive Director for Indiana's Hoosiers for Good, their official NIL consortium, joins us. We'll be back with that and much more.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Another reason to take Indiana plus 34 right there, what you just put up. If it's raining in Ann Arbor, there ain't no way Michigan's going to cover that spread.
It's really supposed to be a monsoon?
Literally throughout it might be the same way in Indiana. I think all the Midwest is getting hammered tomorrow with some rain.
I'm glad there's not a home game here tomorrow, baby. Oh my. Well, that changes things.
I'm glad I got in on it when it was plus 34 because I think it might go up or go down like the spread.
Let's see. Let me check.
And it's part of parlay too, though, because my other two have to hit for that to even count for anything.
Arbor, Michigan.
Good morning, Tyler.
Hey, boss. How are you doing, brother?
Well, it's Friday.
We're just talking about the spread for tomorrow's game, but there's going to be a monsoon apparently
in Michigan.
Well, hopefully our running game's a little bit better.
Well, that's the thing. Like Michigan's not supposed to, but Vegas says the spread's 34 or 33.5 or whatever it may be. And I was trying to argue why that's way too much.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be hard to throw the ball if it is like that. What's the wind?
It's a good question.
Northeast at 16 miles an hour. So Have you ever been to the big house?
Mm-hmm.
It sits down, below grade. So I don't know if it's really affected. I can't remember if it's affected by wind. All I remember is loudest place I've ever been in my life, period.
Yeah,
indoors or out.
I went there, and when I was still at IU, I went with the football team there. I think it was when we played them in November. I think it was Hart's first year there. And I said, it was so cold. I said, if I play my cards right, I'll never come back.
Yeah, I'll tell you what pisses me off. They charge the media for parking.
Really?
They make, yeah. That's aggravating. You're only making $6 million a game as it is. And you need to charge the media for parking.
Gotta claw every dollar out of everybody.
Just going to ask how things have been going with Hoosiers for Good, how important it is going to be for IU football that people cannot focus just on basketball as much as they love basketball, but understand 44040, the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Hoosiers for Good. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Friday, the 13th, baby. Is it Tyler's birthday? Tyler Harris joins us from Hoosiers for Good, Indiana's NIL official consortium. How are you, sir? Happy birthday. It's not your birthday.
Well, it's not my birthday, but no, I'm doing well. I can't complain. A lot of hard work up to this point on our end, and we'll continue throughout the year. So been fun.
I want to start with football. I know that it's a love-hate relationship for Indiana fans with the football program. They love it because it's IU. They hate it because of the churning. And my comment would be, you cannot focus on, for those that give, on basketball or any other sport without thinking about football for a couple reasons. Football is the engine that drives the athletic train at any and every school. And if you don't have a healthy football program, it is going to greatly affect your athletic program across the board. And B, if you're going to complain about the football program, then give to football or for football or propose for football something. It has to. It has to be that way. It just does. Indiana is in the best conference in the country that just came even better and is going to be even more challenging to keep up, because let me tell you, Washington, Oregon, UCLA, and USC, they're going to come in guns loaded. So it's Indiana can't afford to get pushed down any further, but it's just a mindset that I think for Hoosier fans, they've got to get out of.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously everybody loves basketball. And with Woody being back, the excitement there, hopefully that excitement, will continue. But I've always said, if you really care about an athletic department and about a school, the biggest way to make that impact is help football go. Because football being great, or even good in this case, makes the athletic department go and impacts way more sport programs, the school in general, than a good any other program.
Absolutely. And then there's the other athletic programs as well that are involved. And then basketball, of course, is what people think of when they think of Indiana, and Indiana is in the mix for. Woody has done, as you mentioned, an incredible job. across the board. He has been great to deal with from a media standpoint. I put out this was on a board, so it was kind of a private thing last night. But I said that, covering Woody has been great from the jump. He's open, honest, professional, and unfiltered. And all those things are great. I said it's unlike the previous 4 years. It's like that was like living on the dark side of the moon. And so now we're in the light, but he fosters that. And then, of course, his recruiting efforts have shown to be very fruitful. Of course, he's got some big decisions coming up. And I know people think that, well, they need to do more here or do more of that. The die is cast. When you get to this point, these guys are in decision mode, the die is cast from an NIL standpoint. My belief is that die is already cast. Now it's just up to the coaches to sell it or not, because Liam McNeely is announcing on Sunday. I expect Indiana to land him, and a lot of people do. I think it would be a shock if they don't. But his decision is not going to be swayed either way by the NIL. He already knows what that is. I think it's the same with Boogie Fland. That die is cast. Now, Derek Queen, who is one of the other big recruits, he has another visit. And of course, Maryland's going to do whatever it is they do. But Woody may come back with some conversations, but from an NIL standpoint, I'm thinking that die is cast. And so that's solid, and they know what that is. Am I close to that?
Well,
as much as you can speak to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say, I don't know, what the conversations are like at other schools, and I'm not in the room when our coaches are talking to any recruits, but you hope all that work and all those relationships that you built, there's a certain trust factor that comes into play at this point at this stage in the recruiting cycle. And I think if you're IU, you got to feel pretty darn good at where you're at. Here's the exciting part. We weren't in these conversations 3 years ago. We're back in them. Woody's brought a breath of fresh air back to the
he's
program.
already won one with Mackenzie Mbako against Kansas.
Yeah, and a year later, we're in the conversation final stages with three of them. I mean, again, this is something we couldn't say we were doing 3 years ago, and it's exciting to be back where we're at.
And I want to make sure the people understand as well. The coaches have no involvement with NIL, and if you need any more proof to that, go back. We played this clip yesterday, and John, I don't know if you have it. But the NIL deal that Malik Renew has, which is separate from Hoosiers for Good, I think, it's with Big Woods. He's got a burger named after him. He had no idea. He's like, what? He got a burger named after him. Where? What was this? He was clueless. But why it was so damn funny is he's like, well, he's not supposed to be eating 2 million burgers. Is that a veggie burger? But they have no involvement with NIL.
Right. Yeah, and they shouldn't. And that's good. The most exciting thing for me about Malik's burger was, he's a Hoosiers for Good athlete, and we partnered him with Big Brothers Big Sisters. And I think it speaks to the young men Woody is recruiting, because we didn't direct him to do this, but he wanted a portion of his proceeds that he makes from that burger to go to his charity partner, Big Brothers Big Sisters. And so you can see these athletes through this relationship and through Hoosiers for Good start to become more community minded. That cannot be a better commercial advertisement for what these guys do. What Anthony Leal did a year ago, he paid off his sister's student loans. These guys they're not, and that's another thing I want people to understand. Most of them are not these greedy guys. And Hoosiers for Good are you the only NIL sort of that does it the way you guys do, by partnering your athletes with these charitable organizations only? We were the very first. I would say there's probably been 30 or so that have announced their charitable model following our announcement last March. But I firmly believe we're one of the only that have stayed true to the charitable aspect of all of it, and have said what everything we said we've done. And so in that aspect, we're probably the only one, if I'm guessing, that again has stayed completely true to the charitable model that we adopted.
Now, is that something that in the future there's a possibility could be altered, not changed, because I know that this is going to be always probably the basis for it, but to be able to expand it, to go out into businesses in a different way?
Yeah, that's why we we also started Hoosiers Connect, which Colin runs the day-to-day of that. But a lot of the
and for you who don't know, it's a guy named Colin Hartman. He played for some small college somewhere back in the day.
He played at a school in Indiana. I think somewhere in Bloomington. I think some school.
Wasn't Bloomington South, but no, just kidding. Yeah. Colin Hartman, who runs it's a separate side, and explain that side where the Hoosiers for Good is mostly big corporate donors and charities that you guys work with. Hoosiers Connect is a much different. It is more business driven, more individual driven, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah. So on Hoosiers for Good, as a 501c3, we're limited in what we can do, and that being we can only work with other charities. We can't work with businesses. We can't do any of that. But throughout a lot of my conversations with people who are interested in supporting, they had an interest in getting their business involved and maybe receiving some unique things in return. And so that's really why we started Hoosiers Connect. And Hoosiers Connect really involved into creating business relationships and corporate sponsorships with businesses, for the most part in Indiana, where athletes can use their voice to really amplify that business's message. But then we also have members that receive unique benefits in return, whether it be at our top level, signed balls, signed jerseys, unique experiences, all the way down to other levels. So it's evolved a little bit, but yeah, that's the reason for two separate entities, just to make sure we can encompass as many people that want to support as possible.
Are there events that you guys have at different times of the year? I know you travel to go out places.
Yeah, so we have, summer, as you can imagine, is really the biggest event period. That's when the athletes are most free. We don't like to bother them when they're in season. It's we're here to support them and off the court and off the field ventures. But when they're in season and they've already got class on top of that, we try to stay away from bothering them too much. So summer happens to be our big period, and we have multiple golf outings, multiple events, and we'll continue to add as we can. We're a small staff, but yeah, next summer I think we'll have quite a few events and golf outings, and hopefully people will continue to want to support and want to be involved, because it's a factor now in the decision making process for athletes, whether that is coming, staying, or just showing that you have opportunities at a school, and we use those events to be able to do that.
And if you HoosiersConnect.com is where you can go, but that's a place where you can make a one-time or recurring contribution. And I'm assuming there's no limit, bottom or top.
No, there's not. There's one-time giving, monthly giving, membership levels, corporate sponsorship levels. It really tries to encompass anybody who has an interest level, at whatever level that is, to get involved. And there's unique ways that we were able to reward people in return for supporting. So yeah, any level, I would encourage people to take a look at the website, because regardless of what you can give, it's all impactful. I promise you.
Yeah, and with the Hoosier Connect side, you have a corporate part. Is that how that these businesses can actually connect directly with these athletes?
Yeah, in large part, that's a way for businesses to do it and get some unique stuff on top of that. So with our corporate sponsors, we really have them segmented where they'll get certain things in return, certain number of appearances, certain number of posts. They get to choose the athletes, but then they also get some really cool stuff in return. We do still facilitate one-off interested businesses that maybe not want to be a corporate sponsor at one of those levels that we have, but still have an interest in getting involved. We facilitate those opportunities as well.
What do you do in season events like during basketball season?
Yeah, so we'll fly out to certain hot spots of areas that donors that we know will be there. And we'll have events. So I anticipate we'll do one out in New York, potentially down in Atlanta. We're going to do an event in Chicago at some point. So we'll fly out to those areas in conjunction with games because a lot of people are coming in for that. So it just works out really well.
You can see if you're watching on YouTube, you can just go to HoosiersConnect.com or HoosiersForGood.com. Either will get you to the right place. I know that there is a big announcement coming on Sunday, and I'm not asking for a prediction, but Indiana has been in good shape. The importance of landing a guy like that, it leads to other recruits sometimes, but it again backs up what he has done with landing Mackenzie Mbako and Kelly Ware and those types of guys. That shows that Indiana is in the game, whether you're talking about recruiting or NIL. As a matter of fact, in the research I've done, in the top 25 NIL programs, if you will, they're 85 to 90% led by football-driven schools, which would make sense, as I said, because football is the engine that drives the train. Kansas is different. They're probably the top NIL in basketball, but I believe Indiana is right there behind them. Shockingly, West Virginia is up there. But, of course, Kentucky is there as well. But to be up that high in the top 25 as just a basketball-driven NIL, that takes a ton of effort, number one, but it shows how important it is. But if that could be spread out, I think it shows that Indiana could really do some good on the football field.
Yeah, and we're, basketball, we feel really good where we're at on the basketball side. On the football side, there, continues to need work, but we are night and day difference from where we were this point last year. And just a huge difference. And so that, as long as we can keep that going, we'll get there. I feel really good where we're at.
What is it that people need to hear to understand that, hey, we understand basketball is important, but football is actually more important from I hate to use the term, but from a business standpoint for the university, for the athletics program at the university? Football is more important, not in your heart, but in the general emphasis of the overall athletics program.
Yeah, I think there was a stat that I read, and it's been years ago, and it was when I was still at IU, but Michigan and Ohio State make more money off one home football game than we do in all 6 home games.
Oh yeah, I think they make like $6 million a game or something.
Yeah, and so it's hard to compete with that. Where we can fill the gaps is NIL. That's just the reality, and it's unbelievably important to a university. We start going 7-5. The university has a lot more money than they ever, had, because you're a football program. People show up. People are excited to be there. and we're in all these games. That makes a huge difference to a school. Applications go up at the school. It all works so closely together.
Well, make sure you reach out to HoosiersForGood.com or HoosiersConnect.com. If you reach out to HoosiersConnect.com, you can get a signed autograph photo of Colin Hartman. I just threw that out there. I just put that in.
We may have to pay people to take that.
I know. Well, they can use it for the dartboard. They can draw mustaches on it. They can turn him into a Gardner Minshew, whatever they want to do. Tyler Harris from Hoosiers for Good, I cannot thank you enough.
Yeah, thank you. And Jim, we'll definitely love to hop on here again sometime soon. I would encourage all your listeners to mark the date November 14th in your head. That's going to be a big date. We'll have some exciting things that will be announced that day. So please stay tuned. But remember the date, November 14th.
Well, we'll look forward to making sure that you're scheduled to be on. And maybe we'll bring Colin. You'll let Colin out of the cage, and we can bring him on too.
We'll see. That's going to be a hard sell. He's, I got to keep him working.
I trust me. I get it. Tyler Harris, Hoosiers for Good. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You betcha. Hey, reach out to HoosiersForGood.com or HoosiersConnect.com to assist the athletics program and staying lively and growing in the ever-growing Big Ten. Cannot thank Tyler Harris enough today for joining us. Bob Kravitz, of course, from bobkravitz.substack.com, and John, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we have no reason to be here, and we're grateful for you. Looking forward to being back here on Monday. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.